It's time for you to stop wasting your precious, valuable time as a content creator and as an influencer. There's so much advice about execution of how to make a post on social media, hashtags, captions, all that stuff. All that stuff is important. We're going to talk about that today. But I would say, in my opinion, it's about 5% of what matters as a content creator. I really want to teach you today how to really build content and build a brand and a business on social that people really care about, that leaves an impact, that builds a community. I have met with over 500 content creators one-on-one in the last year. I have seen the most common reasons why so many creators' content isn't getting views, it's not getting pushed. I'm going to share with you today a lot of the top reasons I've seen of why content just doesn't get views, it doesn't do well. And it might sound harsh, but it's helpful because I really want to help you build your brand, build your business, and just grow on social. And I'm so excited for this video. Today's video actually ends a 4-week series that we've been doing over here called The Business of Being an Influencer, and I'm so excited to finally be ending the series. I'm so proud of the videos that we've done. I've just been having so much fun doing them, but today ends the series, and I'm so excited for today's video. If you're new here, hi, my name is Tess. I've worked in marketing and influencer marketing for over 8 years in downtown Toronto. I'm also the founder of Busy Blooming. We are a company that helps empowers content creators and entrepreneurs to build their business and build their brand on social media, and of course embrace the cringe all along the way, which we love to talk about cringe over here. I'm also a full-time content creator myself on TikTok and on Instagram, and I do content strategy consulting. As you can tell, I love influencer marketing and I love content creation, and I really want to help you build all the things that you want to build. So with all of that being said, let's get into it. Today we're going to dive a little bit into the algorithm. We're going to talk about reasons your videos might not be getting views, growth tips, how to just create better content that people want to watch. And I'm so excited, so grab your notebooks, grab your pens, classes in session. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to kick off the episode with just getting the algorithm out of the way, okay? The algorithm on TikTok and Instagram, the word the algorithm gets thrown around so much when it comes to advice on social media. Again, the algorithm is about 5% of what matters because the algorithm is what you should really take into account when packaging your video, when putting hashtags, captions, all that sort of stuff. That does really matter. We're going to get into that today. But I wanted to address it head on right at the beginning of the video because I think the algorithm is something we put a lot of weight on. One thing I will say, and again, I've worked in corporate marketing for over 8 years, algorithms on social media are always changing. The algorithms is just a game you don't want to play, in my opinion. It's something that will always be changing. It's constantly adjusting. We've seen it on TikTok a million times if you're on there. But I do think it can be really helpful to understand like what the algorithm exactly is and how you can use that as a content creator. Because at Busy Blooming, if you watch this podcast, you're in our community, I really want you to feel like you're super educated on social media and how things like actually work when you hear people toss those terms around. So let's dive into it. I'm gonna put my corporate marketing hat back on for a little bit. So what is the algorithm? The algorithm is basically a system that is programmed into each social media app. Every single social media app has a different algorithm, and what the algorithm is a system that determines what shows up when you're scrolling on social media. So when you're scrolling on your For You page on TikTok or your Reels feed on Instagram or your stories on Instagram, the reason certain people's posts come up for you is because of the algorithm. So I thought what we would do is we would dive a little bit into how the algorithm at TikTok and Instagram actually works, because it's really helpful to know as a creator when your future audience or people you want to follow you use the social media apps, how the app is actually working for them, because it actually does help you a lot as a content creator. So I thought we'd start with diving into the TikTok algorithm and then talk a little bit about the Instagram algorithm, and then we'll get into all the growth tips and views and better content and all of that. So let's get into it. Okay, so the TikTok algorithm, the most notoriously magical, addicting algorithm on social media. I'm sure you've heard people say that TikTok is ruining our attention span, that the TikTok algorithm is secret and magical and does things like no other social media app does. All of those things are somewhat true, maybe not the magical part, but TikTok in some way does have quite a unique algorithm versus other social media apps like Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest. TikTok does have a unique algorithm, but it's not magical or secret. So for this episode, I did a little bit of research I wanted to bring to you. So a recent interview that the New York Times Times did with a computer science professor from the University of California. He kind of dove into the algorithm from a computer science perspective. So the algorithm on TikTok, what he says is what really sets it apart is they have fantastic volumes of data. So what this means for us as content creators and even as users is the app, TikTok monitors more of your behavior. So they have more data on you and they use that data in the algorithm, unlike other apps do. So for example, TikTok monitors things and really puts this into the algorithm. Like if you're watching a video and you click on their profile and then you follow somebody, or they also put a lot of emphasis in the algorithm on what you search. TikTok's algorithm is also quite interesting because they use what people say in the videos, the caption, and the text in the video. So they have a lot of different ways that they really collect information and data on what that video is about. Also in this New York Times article, TikTok actually has an emphasis in their algorithm on content relevance and content popularity. What this means is as a user, if you watch a lot of unboxings of Adidas sneakers, for example, if there's a creator who has a really, really similar video to ones that you watch a lot, they mention Adidas, they have similar hashtags to the videos you watch a lot, they say a lot of the similar things, even if that video doesn't have a lot of views, it's super relevant to you. So they're going to push it your way, which is kind of interesting. This is why on TikTok, why content creators usually have an easier time growing on TikTok because they prioritize that relevance and not just the popularity for you. But you might notice that it's like, oh my God, I watched like 2 videos about an unboxing from Sephora and now my whole page is just Sephora unboxings. That's because TikTok really emphasizes how long you watch a video. So that's the TikTok algorithm. And we're going to break it down for you as a content creator, as an influencer, of like, okay, so what does this all mean? Like, how do I create good content? We're gonna get into that, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting to do a similar analysis for the Instagram algorithm because I'm actually working with Instagram right now, which is such a dream. I'm an Instagram creators ambassador over on TikTok right now, and so I'm doing weekly videos on their TikTok, and so I've been actually working with the team a lot and getting some insider information that I thought I would share about like how the Instagram algorithm works. Totally unrelated to like Busy Blooming and this YouTube channel, but I just thought it'd be interesting to bring over here. So on Instagram, I just did a video on this with them, is that the Instagram algorithm actually has a different algorithm for each feature of the app. You can go watch the TikTok I made on their account, Instagram creators on TikTok, but there's a different algorithm for Reels and Stories in your main feed. Those all have different algorithms. The Reels feed, for example, is actually mainly trying to push out new creators. So when you go on Reels and scroll through it, you're probably actually seeing a lot of people you don't follow. It's kind of built for an explore page, which is kind of interesting, but your main feed is usually people you follow. Your Stories feed is usually people you really interact with. So it actually does work similarly to TikTok in the way of it takes a lot of information and user behavior. So if you watch a lot of content on Instagram Reels about motivation or content tips or hauls, a lot of that content is still going to get pushed to you on Reels. So for both Instagram and TikTok, it's good to know that they've taken a lot of that same information. So anyways, breaking all the Instagram algorithm stuff down, what does this actually mean for you as a creator when you're creating content? In my opinion, what this means when understanding the algorithm is that there's 2 types of things when it comes to social media that affect your views and your reach as a creator. The first thing is packaging, which is the information on your video, your caption, your text, what you're saying, all of that. In my opinion, and doing some research, that's about 5% of what really matters. Because what this packaging does is it pushes and decides who watches your content, whose For You page and feed your content gets pushed to. But what the 95% really matters is connection. So this is the difference between videos that get a couple of views versus videos that get a lot of views. It's your growth video. So 95% of what matters is when you package a video well and it gets on someone's page, if they like it, if they save it, if they share, if they comment on it, if they follow you, if they watch it for a long time, that's going to push it out to more people. So the packaging gets it on people's feed, but what really matters and what will help that video really grow is getting that connection, the likes, the save, the comment, the shares, the follows, the retention, all of that. Because this is also, you might have heard of 200 view jail on social media or specifically on TikTok. 200 view jail might mean you package your video really well. Like you got the right hashtags, the right SEO terms, you said all the right things, but when people watched it, there wasn't that connection, which is what 95% really matters because no one's watching it for that long. People aren't commenting, aren't saving, aren't sharing, aren't following you. And so your video stops getting pushed. So the packaging, the 5% gets it on people's page. The connection, the engagement gets it out more. So that's where you grow on social. Okay, that was a lot of algorithm things, a really deep dive on it, but I do think it's interesting, maybe because I'm a marketing person, but I do think it's interesting as a creator to know like all the behind the scenes. I also hope that helps you understand why things like hashtags and captions, they do matter a little bit, but not more than creating good content that people want to watch. So let's get into, okay, let's say I package my video right, I use the hashtags, all that stuff well. How do I get people to actually want to watch my content and keep watching it and comment and save and share it and follow me? let's get into that because that's what really, really matters. Okay, here comes the tough love part from Tess, okay? So I have met with so many content creators. Again, I've hired influencers. I used to work at a skincare brand full-time, hiring influencers. I've also worked in corporate marketing, doing lots of corporate marketing. So I've met with a lot of creators and worked in social media for a while. And let me just tell you, there are 3 reasons that I have really seen in content creators and even in brands on social media of why content isn't performing well. And this is really going to apply to like influencers and creators today. So the top 3 reasons I feel like your videos might not be getting views is because it doesn't look good, it's too inward focused, and there's no theme, and it's too generic, and you're not getting to the point fast enough, and people are bored. So let's unpack each one. So first of all, your video might not be getting views or might be getting stuck in 200 view jail because it doesn't look good. And this mainly applies, I would say, to short form, these 3, but this really can apply to YouTube and podcasting as well. But when I say your video doesn't look good, I'm not talking about having an amazing camera or having the best lighting, the best quality, like all of that. But what I mean is the aesthetic layout of your video can subconsciously make people scroll so fast. When I often work with creators, I find that their videos, if they're not getting a lot of views, what makes a really big difference is they might have too much text on screen. They might have the captions and then the titles like over their face, or the title's too big, or maybe you have a filter on your video, not like a face filter, but a filter that kind of looks adjusted to the lighting, like it has some sort of grain or something. I would not recommend that. Maybe the angle's not super great, like there's too much text, so you put stickers, like there's just not a well-packaged, visually packaged video. One of the things about content is a lot of the times you either know what looks good or you don't, and it does take meeting with somebody to say, okay, do this exact thing to your video. But an exercise you can do is I want you to cover up your follower amount on social media and think to yourself, does my content look like somebody who has 300,000 followers would post it? Just a little exercise, because again, your content is not to be highly produced, but look at the aesthetics of it. Scroll through your page, look at creators you really love. Maybe they don't even have text on screen at all, or maybe there's like a really minimal white text with a couple emojis, or maybe there's one like clear title with a white background. Like make your videos, the visual part of it is very, very important, especially on things like TikTok and Instagram. So what I want you to do is go on Pinterest, go on TikTok, go on Instagram, go on creators platforms that you really, really love, and try to see what your content visually, not quality, like visually design-wise looks like compared to theirs. Think about if that might be a reason right off the bat your content might be a little bit overwhelming for somebody. The second most common, I would say, reason your content is not getting views is because it's too inward focused, there's not a theme, and it's too generic. So this all kind of packages into one thing. So for example, if you do a get ready with me video and the text on the screen says get ready with me, the caption says get ready with me, and you open up the video saying get ready with me, scroll. Like that is not a compelling video because it's too inward focused, it's too generic, and there's no theme. So what I mean by this is you need to make your content, we talked about this a lot in the last video, the last episode, but you need to make your content very outward focused, very specific, very your vibe, unique to you, and it can't be generic. So every time you go to make a piece of content, think about how can I make this the least boring possible? How can I say get ready with me and add some things around that sentence that no one else can add? So for example, start the video by saying, help me choose an outfit for my 9-to-5 finance girly job in New York City. That's what you say. The text on the screen says, let's get ready for work when I'm tired, I don't feel like going to work. And then the caption says, what do you think about the shoes I'm wearing at the end? Do we love them or do we hate them? It's the same video, but what you're saying is outward focused towards the audience. It has the theme of New York City, 9-to-5 finance, and it's not generic. Not everybody can do that because that's your vibe on social. Every piece of content you create, always think about, is this too generic? Is this too much about me and not enough about my audience? And is there a theme to it? Is there something about me that's like my vibe, my brand on social? The third reason I think content doesn't perform well, you might be stuck in like a 200 view jail, is because people are bored and you're not getting to the point fast enough. So for example, especially on TikTok, I find it's kind of interesting. I feel like the user behavior and algorithm is changing a little bit. I feel like back in the day, it was like choppy, 7-second videos did amazing. I actually find sometimes this totally depends on you and who you are on social media. Sometimes people actually do this a little bit too much. I find that their videos are too choppy. They're too highly edited. There's too much going on. It is a little hard to follow. So keep that in mind. But at the same time, the other way, sometimes people start their videos and they don't get to the point. They'll start the video by saying, I've been thinking a lot about glowing up. up and I've really been kind of in the mood of just wanting to get better and elevate my life. And so I thought we'd sit down and we'd talk about all these things. Scroll. What's so much better is just getting to the point and saying, you're going to go up with me and here's how we're going to do it. Let's unpack. It's the same video, but you're just getting right to the point fast enough. So really take a second and think, do I have too much like filler in my video? I'm not getting to the point fast enough. Could I make it a little bit tighter, a little bit package cleaner? But also remember, don't make it too choppy, too edited. And again, none of this means that you have to be like screaming on camera, like high energy. For me personally, that's kind of just my natural way of being. I do have a lot of energy and that's just my personality, but don't just be like that for the sake of being it. I do think there's so much value in like peaceful, calm, quiet. If that's your authentic personality, be that way. There's a lot of need, I think, for that, honestly, on social media. People who are very like chill and calm. I think people actually really like that. It's a bit of a break when you're scrolling on your page and it's just like everyone's screaming all day long, you know? Okay, so those are the top 3 reasons I see people's videos not getting pushed, not getting views. When you make those changes, I've seen it really, really work and make a big difference. Let's get into part 3 of, okay, we know the technical stuff. We got the algorithm, the packaging, the editing, the titles, all that. How do I actually create like better content on social media that people actually want to watch? Let's get into it. So, I think a lot of people, if you've been listening to this podcast for the last 10 episodes of season 3, you already know what I'm going to say. But I personally think my number 1 tip for creating good content and for growing on social media is to do the foundational work. I'm not going to go into it. I know I go into it a lot, but I just want to say, if this is the first video of mine and the first episode you're listening to of mine, trust me when I say you are in a group of people here who know how much I talk about branding and foundational work and your blue sky scenario and your content pillars and all of that, because what I mean by that is through foundational work, the number 1 way to grow on social media and to get more views and all of that is to have a clear content strategy and a clear audience, clear content pillars, a clear plan for your brand. So if this is the first video of mine you're seeing, that's my biggest tip over anything I'm going to say today, anything I've said today. Nothing is more important than that foundational work. And last week, in the last video I did, we really deep dove into that. One of my biggest tips to grow on social media is to always workshop your titles, your captions, and your hooks. And the way you're going to workshop them is you're going to try to make them the least boring possible. I've said this example before on TikTok, but instead of saying work day in my life or come to work with me or spend the day with me, like that's kind of boring, honestly. I'm sure you've seen that before. It's way more interesting to say something like exposing what I actually do as a founder in a work day. Or if you've ever wondered what a finance girly really does in a work day, let's bring you behind the scenes so we can expose what it's actually like. Like that's so much more interesting. Again, it's the same video, but making one of the number 1 priorities as a creator, being the least boring and least generic possible, and really, really workshop your stuff. Say the hook of your vlog a couple times, the get ready with me hook a couple of times. Like keep trying different things, try different captions, try different things, but just make it not generic and not boring. Pick out the most interesting thing you're going to talk about, package the video that way. I also really like the word expose. I think that's a good thing, like expose salaries, expose what I do in a day. Let's do behind the scenes. I'm going to actually show you something you've never seen before. Another good way to start your videos is with questions. People give this advice a lot of like, would you rather spend the day working a 9-to-5 job or being a content creator on TikTok, where I'm going to do both? Like it's a little bit of a question. So really keep workshopping your titles. And again, everything, how can it be the least boring and least generic possible? The next growth tip I have is to create a couple taglines and one-liners for yourself that you can put in your hooks, in your bio, in your content. For example, in your bio, you could say, helping the 9-to-5 girlies look cute at work every single day. Like whatever it is, having one little one-liner about your mission, your brand is so important, because this is so good for growth, because it just packages so easily like what you do on social. In my videos, I always usually have some sort of one-liner of this accounts for the content creator girlies, or I'm on a mission to make you a full-time creator, like something like that. So one of my favorite things to do when I meet with people is have a list of one-liners for them, because it's just it is like the most healing thing as a content creator when you feel so all over the place and so lost. To have a one-liner, you're like, that is my mission on social. It's so good. So do that for yourself. Think of a couple things. Another growth tip I have is something I said last week, but I want to say it again, is make your content outward focus and then making it inward focus later. So when you're first starting out, or maybe pivoting or rebranding or changing niches or whatever it is, niches is a whole other topic, but I think it's always a good strategy regardless regardless of where you are in your content journey, to make your content outward focused. Even if you're an influencer and your content is about your life, your outfits, and what you're doing, making that content packaged outwardly. So rather than saying, I'm getting ready, I'm doing this, I'm feeling this way, I don't really know, saying, you're gonna come with me to work, or I really need your help, or get dressed with me so we can have a good day at work together. Like the we, the you, all of that. Alex Earl and Emily Kaiser are two really good lifestyle creator examples of this, because Alex Earl, her content is about her. It's get ready with me, all of that. But think about what we just talked about. Her content is not generic at all. Rather than doing a get ready with me, she always has a theme about it, you know? Like she'll be like, get ready with me for the Kentucky Derby, or get ready with me to go out in Miami. But when she's talking in her videos, she's talking to her audience. She's saying, okay, you guys, I know we're all feeling this way, or I don't know about you, but I've been feeling really hungover lately, or like whatever she does, she really talks to a big group of people. And when you're watching, you feel like you're part of a big community watching her. Another growth tip is to really prioritize your energy over everything in your content. Your energy is so important. People really want to see the content you want to make. So it's so easy to tell. I'm sure you've seen this when you watch other creators and their content feels kind of forced, or their energy's not there. They kind of feel scripted. Like your energy, and I'm not saying again being like loud and screaming and all of that. I'm saying your energy of like if you're excited, having fun creating your content, whether it's calming, even like Nara Smith, you can tell if you know who she is. She's like, I'm obsessed with her, but she's just like more calm creator, but her energy feels very authentic, very aligned. And so don't, again, get in this trap of posting for the sake of posting or pushing yourself really hard, because you really don't want your content to feel forced. That's like not the vibe we're going for. So really prioritize your energy, because I'm going to say it again. I have to say it. I know I'm a broken record, but your consistency is having your audience always feel the same way when they watch your content. You have a consistent energy for them, and that's so much more important than even like the topics you talk about. So really prioritize feeling good about what you talk about, being in a good energy, being in a good mindset, like having fun with your content. Two more pieces of advice I have. First of all, I would say one of the best growth tips is to always test out different styles until you find one that actually performs well. Because going back to energy, if you're doing different styles, like maybe a get ready with me, or a green screen, or just sitting down talking, or a vlog voiceover, the style of how you create content really affects your energy. So always test out different styles, because you want to feel really comfortable when you're creating content. For me, I love to just sit down and talk. I actually find when I'm doing a get ready with me, I'm like a little bit like overwhelmed. My energy is not as good as when I'm just sitting and talking with my hands, or graphics, or on a green screen. That's like my best energy, I find. So keep trying out different styles and testing until something works, because the reason it's probably going to work is because your energy is the best. The last thing I'll say in terms of growth tips is repost your content. This is such a basic tip, but repost your content on multiple platforms. I've seen so many creators blow up, get 100K, 200K on Instagram from just reposting their TikToks. Like go on Snaptic, download it without the watermark, post it on YouTube Shorts, edit it down to a minute for YouTube Shorts, post it on Pinterest as an idea pin, post it on Reels. Like just get your content out, because you put so much effort into your content. Another good way to kind of reuse your same content is the 3-to-1 rule, where you take the same footage, whether it's from a vlog or whatever it is, and you reuse that content in multiple different video styles. So use the same vlog footage as a voiceover, or maybe a clip from your podcast, or use it on Instagram under a trending sound with some text on screen. But really try to get the most out of your content, because it's such a good way to like easily grow. This brings us into part 4, which is packaging. I'm going to just briefly talk about hashtags, posting times, captions, and trends. All the things that we chatted about is way more important than this, but this is important, I do have to say, in terms of really categorizing your video for that notorious algorithm. When it comes to your caption, the advice I like to give is there's really 3 parts to your caption. And again, this actually doesn't fully matter, because I'm sure you've seen people whose caption is like LOL and the video pops off. So it doesn't actually make or break your video. What really makes or break your video is if you have a caption with no hashtags, no nothing, it just says LOL, but people watch that video for 5 minutes on TikTok, it's gonna do well. So again, retention, connection, engagement, all that matters more. But for captions, the first part is a really good hook at the top. This is something that will make people want to keep watching. If you're doing a get ready with me, addressing all the topics, maybe asking a question, I would have a hook sentence and then a couple just explanations of like what the video is about. The second part of your caption, I would do 3 to 5 hashtags. And then the third part of your caption, I would do SEO search terms. So especially in TikTok, I would put how to be a full-time content creator 2024, TikTok growth tips, how to get brand deals on TikTok. I would type out things that people are going to type into the search bar on TikTok, because TikTok really optimizes SEO. And again, remember on the TikTok algorithm specifically, they're really taking into account what you say in the algorithm. So if you say TikTok growth a lot in a video, that's going to go into the algorithm as well. Same with the text on screen, but it does matter as well in your caption. Okay, next up, how much should you post on social media? This has got to be the most like contradicting piece of advice. You know what I mean? Like everybody says something completely different. And I just have to say, I have been out here saying 3 to 5 times a week is perfect. There was a recent study that came out that said when they interviewed people who worked at TikTok, worked on the algorithm at Instagram, all these experts said recently, like 2024, 3 to 5 times a week is perfect. You know, I just had to say, round of applause for us over Busy Blooming, because that's what we've been doing. I meet with creators all the time. 3 to 5 times is perfect. The reason I think why this works better for us and why we grow more is because you're posting quality over quantity. 3 videos a week is not crazy. And also the algorithm is changing a little bit on TikTok. I find they're pushing videos out slower. So a video you posted in a week, throughout the week you'll get more views. But back the old algorithm of TikTok, again, it changes all the time, but it used to be if you post a video to get a ton of views and stop. That's just not how it works. YouTube, the algorithm has always kind of been that way. Your video slowly gets views. I think TikTok's actually trying to emulate that a little bit because they're trying to create that comfort creator vibe on TikTok, which is a whole other thing. But let me just say, 3 to 5 times a week is perfect. If someone tells you to post 10 times a day, run. Okay, now let's talk about what time a day to post on social media. So this, again, I don't think matters as much as you think, just depending on the algorithm and how it works. Again, people from all over the world use specifically TikTok. It's going to go on someone's page. But what I will say is if you are wondering what time to post on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, go to your settings, go to your analytics, and check what time of day your audience is active on social. It's probably most your audience is active from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Any time between that, I think is great. In my opinion, what I've seen and what I've heard is it doesn't matter to post the same time of day every single day. That did work a couple of years ago, but now it doesn't really matter. So take that with a grain of salt. Do what you want to do, but in my opinion, posting anytime, unless it's like the middle of the night, even then though, it will still get pushed when people come online. But anytime your analytics says people are active online, I think is a good time to post. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about trends and trending sounds, because this is a big question I get a lot of, like, should I use trending sounds? Should I hop on trends on social media? In my opinion, I personally, as a creator, don't do trends, but that being said, I would only do trends and like hop on a trend people are doing or like a trending sound or something if it is an outreach piece of content for your brand. So for example, maybe there's a trend going around right now where there's like a Taylor Swift lyric, like, you know that lyric that was going around of "you wouldn't last an hour in the asylum that they raised me"? Like that was a really popular trend. I would maybe do that trend if you're talking about something that your page on social media does. So maybe if you have a whole page on like fashion and being a shopaholic or something, you do that trend about being a shopaholic. And so it's actually quite on brand for you, but I wouldn't do just random trends and really rely on them. I would use them as an outreach strategy, if that makes sense. That's how I would personally use them. But trending audio, I feel like, in my opinion, again, this is quite different than other people. I have found with creators I work with, it doesn't really work. This is all talking about TikTok. On Reels, I actually do find trending audio could be a good thing to throw underneath on your Instagram Reels. But on TikTok, I wouldn't just like depend so much on it or really center as a part of your strategy. I would really use it as outreach stuff, if that makes sense. Okay, that is everything I wanted to say in terms of what actually matters when growing on social media, how to stop wasting your time on the little nitty gritty things and really spend your time on the big things like your brand and content people want to see and all of that. So this was such a fun video to do, and this was such a good way to close out the 4-week series we've been doing over here. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed the 4-week series of the business of being an influencer. I had so much fun. And if you guys are new, by the way, of course, make sure to go check out Busy Blooming. We help content creators build their brand, build their business on social media. We have editing services, podcast, YouTube editing.